Welcome to the EQ Fit podcast. Our mission is to equip people to prosper in every aspect of their life. Whether you're at home or in the workplace, we explore practical ways of improving success, satisfaction, finding balance, and building enjoyable and beneficial relationships. Thank you for joining us. Our focus has and is and will continue to be leadership for the foreseeable future. But this episode today is for anybody who's interested in growing their growth skills. What does that mean, growing your growth skills? It's how do you get the right mindset so that you can engage in learning, engage in growing, engage in developing new skills in a way that continues to create more momentum and makes it enjoyable to do those things. Well, first, let's just focus on the reason why. Why do you even need to learn and grow and develop new skills? Well, the world around us is changing rapidly. The ability to learn and grow isn't just beneficial, it's essential. Whatever you're trying to aim for in your personal or professional development to get the success and satisfaction that you want, cultivating growth skills is a critical part of that journey. The article that I wrote about this recently went deep into how you can develop your growth skills by understanding learning styles, by applying effective learning methodologies, by leveraging emotional intelligence, and by adopting specific practices that foster a growth mindset. And you can find that on our website, eqfit.org, on the blog section. What's the value of doing this? Why should someone invest in growing and learning and developing new skills? And I know there's a lot of people out there listening to this that will say, well, duh, right? I mean, it's kind of like, we have to do that. Why wouldn't we do that? But in my experience, I think the majority of people think that way. But because of the busyness in their lives, the craziness in their lives, the demands on their time, I think it's a small minority of people who actually put this into practice. And that's too bad, because growing, learning new things, developing new skills is the fastest path to get the success and satisfaction you want in life. So what is the value of doing this? It enhances your ability to navigate challenges, it fosters creativity, and it drives innovation. Growth leads to better decision making, improved emotional intelligence, and a stronger sense of purpose. And that stronger sense of purpose is important because it becomes the compass that you hold your decisions up to make sure you're going to continue to go in the right direction. Moreover, when we think about, in a professional context at least, growth translates directly into career advancement, leadership opportunities, greater job satisfaction, and, of course, more financial success. Well, as I always like to do, let me share a story. And this is really a compilation of stories, but there's one specific person in this I want you to focus on. Over the years, I have made an informal study of how people like to learn and how they like to grow. And that's both on the personal side and the professional side. One person I know has read over 10,000 books in their life. I cannot say that I've read 10,000 books in my life, but another is an avid podcast listener. And I pointed her toward our podcast at eqfit.org, and she really enjoyed those and is enjoying those. Another one I've talked to likes online courses, online learning, or what some people call asynchronous learning, because you can do it whenever you want to. And that's the benefit of online courses. Here we go. I remember one specific person who was struggling with their motivation for personal and professional growth. Now, this is a high-level leader in an organization. He told me he did not have the time or even see the need to invest in learning and professional growth. He went on to say that he got everything he needed from his experience and from the people he met. Now, okay, I agree. Yes, these are good sources for learning, but they are very limited, and sometimes it can be a bit skewed. Maybe the learning you get isn't as accurate as it should be, just focused on those two things. So here's what I did. I asked him, what are the problems and challenges that you cannot seem to solve today? And he had quite a list. Let me read you that list. Now, I'm going to read you the list that he gave me, and then I'm going to read you what was lacking as far as skills or learning that could really have helped him overcome these challenges. So the first one was, I don't know how to deal with people who get emotional in the workplace. Well, emotional intelligence skills, that's a lack of emotional intelligence skills. If he had those, he would have a much better pathway to help navigate emotionally charged situations. Here's his next thing. I'm tired of team members who don't engage. That's a lack of leadership and a lack of motivational skills. Leaders need to be able to motivate their team members. Here's the next. I'm so busy, but we keep dealing with the same problems over and over. I wish I had $1 for every time I heard somebody say to me, we're just too busy. I would be a very wealthy man right now. That's a lack, what he was, the busyness, but we keep dealing with the same problems. That's a lack of innovation and problem-solving skills. They were putting Band-Aids and fixes on things, but they weren't getting to the root cause and really solving the long-term problems. Here's the next one he mentioned to me. I wish I was better at settling differences between people. Well, that's a lack of conflict resolution skills. And here's the next one, and I'll leave it at this as far as the list goes, because we could go on and on. He said, we just don't seem to be growing like I think we should. That's a lack of strategic thinking and a lack of good planning skills. Now, I didn't mention to him during that discussion all the lack of skills that he had. A little more diplomatic than that. I simply asked if I could connect with him again in the future to talk about possible solutions to his challenges. And he was happy with that. Okay, fast forward 2 weeks. We're sitting in a restaurant having lunch, and he asked me what I had come up with. I very diplomatically said, you're the problem. Now, I don't know how diplomatic that actually is, but the reality is, of course, he became defensive, right? He immediately became defensive. But I asked him to allow me to finish what I was saying. He motioned for me to continue, so I kept up. I went on. I told him it wasn't specifically anything wrong with him. It was the mindset he had created around the way that he does things. To make it just as simple as I can, he wasn't allowing any margin in his life to learn or to develop new skills. His traditionalist approach, which does have value, meaning just utilizing the methods he has always utilized, doing the same thing over and over. It has merit, okay, but it doesn't allow for how the workplace and the marketplace is changing. I could see he was getting interested. He asked me to go deeper. Now, I explained how the rapid pace of change, really in every aspect of our lives, is creating a dynamic where we as human beings need to be constantly learning, growing, and developing new skills if we want to continue to be successful. Now, I absolutely love those moments when the light bulb comes on for someone I'm working with. And it did in that moment with him. Now, he made a statement that I have taken and used often. It's a great statement. He said, "So my self-limiting mindset is limiting myself." What a great statement, right? And I know it's funny, but at the same time, it is highly accurate. I always encourage people not to limit themselves, and then I say that other people will be happy to put limits on you. I usually get a smile or a chuckle out of that statement, but it's so true. And his mindset about learning and growth and developing new skills, when we really had a deep discussion about it, he realized he was only hurting himself. And the point of this story is simply that if you're limiting your personal and professional learning, your growth, and your skill development, you will pay a price for that. And sometimes, unfortunately, that comes at a very high price. There is no need to be confused or afraid of choosing a growth pathway. Whether you choose to read books, listen to podcasts, invest in online courses, or engage a professional coach like myself, what you invest in yourself will provide value. You will learn new things, and there will be some return on investment. The greater the investment, usually the greater the value and the greater the return on investment. When I work with people, I like to focus on what they specifically need right now to get the best immediate results. Knowing that getting results fast is encouraging, yes, but it also builds long-term results. It helps to increase long-term outcomes. I also ensure that the skills that are being developed are skills that are going to last somebody a lifetime. I mean, if it's a skill that you use once or twice and then it doesn't mean anything to you, that's not much of a skill, is it? And that's why I focus on skills that last a lifetime. This is when learning and skill development become fun. So let's dive deeper into how we go about growing our growth skills. As you might imagine, I spend a lot of time doing research and working with people and developing online courses and podcast episodes and looking through research and really diving deep into neuroscience, how our brains learn. But I do that, number one, because I enjoy it. Number two, though, because I believe my calling is to help other people not only develop skills, but get through the difficult challenges in life and come out better on the back end of those things. And so I really enjoy working with people and helping them understand how they can approach life in a more efficient, more effective, and frankly, more satisfying way. I'm not going to go too deep into learning science here and neuroscience, but let me give you just a touch of what I think will be helpful here. People absorb information and they develop skills in different ways. Understanding your learning style is the first step toward optimizing your growth. And I'm just going to talk about a few different learning styles. There are visual learners that prefer to see information through images, diagrams, written directions. There are auditory learners who retain information better when they hear it through discussions, podcasts, or lectures. There are kinesthetic learners who learn best through hands-on experience, practice, and physical activity. And there are what's called read-write learners. They prefer to interact with text-based information, make notes, and then they just read extensively. By identifying which of these are your primary learning style, you can tailor your learning experience to be more effective and more engaging, which I think is very important. We have all had an experience of sitting in a classroom, sitting in a conference, sitting in a seminar, sitting in a workshop, and the way things were being presented just did not engage us. And the problem is people learn differently. And unless you take these 4 different learning styles into account, and when you're creating the learning, the skill development, then what's happening is you're really missing the mark for people. And that's a shame. People invest time and they expect a good outcome out of that time that they've invested. So learning methodologies play a critical role in how well you can grow your skills. If it's more tailored to you, obviously your skill development is going to go better and faster. Now, there's another learning methodology that I love and I use consistently. It was developed by 6 Seconds, the largest emotional intelligence organization in the world. And it's called Engage, Activate, Reflect. It's a process that basically starts with engage. That's connecting both emotionally and cognitively with new information, new learning, things that are important, things that will help you. It really is using a whole brain approach to learning and to growth and to skill development. Now, engage is the learning part. Activate is where you apply the learning in real world situations. This is where true skill development occurs. And then the reflect phase is where you assess the outcomes of your actions. You identify areas for improvement, or maybe even areas for reinforcement. Something went extremely well. Let's reinforce that. Reflection solidifies learning. It really locks in the learning and drives continuous growth. I really, really like that model of learning. Engage, activate, reflect. Learn something new in a manner, in a methodology that you're comfortable with. Put it into practice, that's activate, and then reflect on what worked, what didn't work, what could you change, what would you try differently next time. And then that's a cycle. It just keeps going over and over and over and over. But it's not just a cycle, it's a spiral. And that spiral grows as you continue that cycle so that you're getting more and better and stronger skills. So, what are productive types of learning? Now, we're not talking learning methodologies as much here. We're talking what's really productive. Not all learning, as you know, is created equal. Productive learning focuses on skills and knowledge that can be immediately applied to achieve specific goals. And here's some productive types of learning. Experiential learning. Learning by doing, which leads to a deeper understanding and longer retention. And we all have that in our lives, some form of experiential learning. But this is a very effective way to learn and to grow and to develop new skills. Collaborative learning, engaging with others to gain new perspectives and enhance problem-solving skills. The third is adaptive learning, tailoring learning paths based on your progress and feedback to maximize effectiveness. And the fourth is continuous learning, embracing lifelong learning to stay relevant and adaptive in your field. Now, between the learning methodologies and these productive types of learning, when I develop a workshop, when I develop an online course, even in my podcast episodes and in my blog articles, I am incorporating as many of these as I can because I know different people like to learn differently. So growth is most productive when it aligns with your personal and professional goals, and when you actively seek opportunities to apply new skills and knowledge. This is not the academic approach. This is the practical life experience approach that I have seen work so well for so many people over the years. So how do we get there? How do we create this growth mindset? Well, building a growth mindset requires understanding what drives you, the motivators behind what's driving us. And I use a number of different assessments when I work with people as a consultant or a coach, or I'm doing team development or organizational development. I don't know how you do your best as a consultant, coach, without good data, good validated data. There's a lot of people out there that are doing consulting and coaching, but they're doing it from their experience. They're doing it from what they've learned, which is great. I do the same thing. But I don't rely just on that. I want really good data that gives me excellent insight into where people are right now so that I can best help them get where they want to go. So when we think about motivators and mindset, there are so many different considerations. So for instance, in one of the assessments I use, there are 6 different measures: theoretical, utilitarian, aesthetic, social, individualistic, and traditional. Well, what in the world does that have to do with learning? Well, theoretical is all about people love to learn. They just love to learn. If you have a high score in that, you love to learn. Utilitarian is being practical. It's also financial focus. Aesthetic is beauty and harmony and balance. Social is serving others, caring for others. Interactions are important. Individualistic is personal drive. It could also be political, meaning working with others and influencing others in a specific way. And then traditional is following tried and true things. And so your mindset measures there, what is motivating you, is very important to how you learn effectively. Now, there's another assessment that I use called Habit Story that identifies both productive and counterproductive habits that really help people to understand where they are and how much energy and focus that they can put towards learning and growth. Some counterproductive habits can significantly negatively impact your growth and skill development. And I won't go deeply into that. I've got podcast episodes on the habit story assessment. I've got YouTube videos on our YouTube channel. Feel free to check those out. These are all free resources. But if we can recognize and then modify those habits I'm talking about, you can create a stronger foundation for continuous improvement. Continuous improvement. That's a part of learning. Because if we don't have a mindset of continuous improvement in ourselves, then it really doesn't make sense for us to do much learning or skill development, does it? Because we're not trying to improve anything. So if we have habits that are holding us back and we want to grow and develop new skills, be more successful, have a more satisfying life, be able to do more things, have more financial security, and everything that comes with that, the habit formation in us is really important, understanding what those are. And so that is how that impacts the learning and growth process. And then there's another assessment I use, specifically the emotional intelligence assessments, that the 5 categories, of course, are self-awareness, understanding your emotions and how they influence your actions, self-regulation, managing your emotional responses in a way that aligns with your goals, intrinsic motivation, cultivating a drive that comes from inside you rather than from external motivators, empathy, understanding the perspectives of others to build better relationships and to enhance collaboration, and then social skills, effectively managing relationships, to navigate social complexities, and to lead others effectively. What does that have to do? That's, by the way, that's learning and skill development just by itself. What does it have to do with that growth mindset? It's very important because we need to know where we are in those skills and those competencies if we want to focus in on what learning and growth and skill development is going to help us the most. Where are the gap areas? What could we shore up? All of this is so critical to our personal and professional growth. Now, all of these skills are intertwined with the mental resilience and mindset that is needed for growth. So let's talk about practices to foster a growth mindset. What can we put in place right now? Set clear, achievable goals. That's number 1. Break down your growth objectives into manageable steps. Use the SMART criteria: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. That's the setting SMART goals to structure your goals for growth. What else can you do? Number 2, practice reflection regularly. That's why I love that engage, activate, reflect methodology from 6 seconds. Reflection is very, very powerful. Now, I'm not talking rumination where you get just stuck in going over replaying the same video in your head over and over and over about something that happened. That's not reflection because you're not coming out of it with options or a better solution. You're just stuck. You're just experiencing the same thing over and over. Reflect on your experiences daily or weekly. Ask yourself what went well, what could be improved. How can you apply these lessons moving forward? Number 3, embrace challenges. I know most of us would say, no, thank you, I have enough challenges in my life. Well, honestly, if you want to grow and become stronger, then embrace challenges because they're going to come your way one way or the other. Seek out challenges that push you out of your comfort zone. Growth occurs when you face and overcome obstacles. Number 4, learn from feedback. Actively seek feedback from peers, mentors, and coaches. Use this feedback to adjust your approach and to improve continuously. Number 5, adopt a learning mindset. View failures as learning opportunities. I have so many people that avoid two things. They avoid making a mistake or failing, and they avoid conflict. And honestly, those two things turned around become incredible learning opportunities if you look at them that way. Most people just get the emotional triggers around that and they back away or they run. That's the fight, flight, freeze, or appease. And those survival instincts are great, but they aren't all that great in the daily workplace. They just don't work that well. Number 6, cultivate resilience. Develop resilience by practicing stress management techniques such as mindfulness, exercise, just go for a walk. Maintain a balanced lifestyle as much as you can. Build some margin into your life where you have time for your brain to relax and rest a little bit to refresh itself. Number 7, stay curious. Curiosity is great. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing in so many ways. Foster a habit of curiosity. Ask good questions, explore new topics, stay open to new experiences. And number 8, engage in lifelong learning. Continuously seek opportunities for learning through courses, books, podcasts, whatever other resources you can think of. The more you learn, the more you grow. And I truly believe that. Growing your growth skills requires a multidimensional approach that includes understanding your learning style, applying effective methodologies, leveraging your emotional intelligence, adopting specific growth practices. When you embrace a growth mindset, you unlock potential for continuous personal and professional development, which leads to a more fulfilling and a more successful life. And don't we all want that? Thank you for joining us for this episode. If you have any questions about this week's episode, or maybe a suggestion for future episodes you'd like us to explore, please contact us through our website at eqfit.org. For more information and inspiration, connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube at EQFit.